Hello there.
Welcome back, my friend.
Hello, what have we here?
Jedi, we've been expecting you.
Knew I could count on you.
Hello.
Welcome to the rebellion.
What fun!
What's poppin', everyone? Hybrid here, and today I want to do another Black Series figure ranking. I thought it would be interesting to dive into the world of some of these sublines, and we are starting this one off with the Holocomm collection. Now, I'm gonna be honest, in my opinion, the Holocomm collection actually a really cool idea. You know, Hasbro makes some very unique sculpts for some characters that are not going to be very easily reused for anything. So, if they want to try and do a gimmicky subline, something like the Holocomm collection makes sense to me because we see a lot of characters in Star Wars in hologram form. So some of these, depending on your display or maybe you're just enjoying a special little, novelty here, I think the Holocomm collection makes a lot of sense. I'd rather them make a Clone Trooper subline repaint wise, sure, but if you're not able to do that, if you're not getting permission to do that from the higher ups, I think the Holocomm collection makes a lot of sense. So these characters were all in a translucent, blue tinted, clear plastic. They came with a base that you put a couple AAA batteries in. They would shine a flickering light. They had a little plaque, a little wanted thing, because the gimmick was that these are bounty hunter pucks. Now, I'm not going to run with the bounty hunter puck gimmick specifically here, but I ranked these characters not so much on quality of the figure, because I don't know, your articulation and stuff doesn't make a huge difference here. Some of them translate better in this clear format than others, but I also kind of factored in a little bit of a logic of does it even make sense to have this character in the line? Maybe you want to use this as a prop for a cosplay or something. You want to walk around, your Mandalorian mercs, bounty hunter, armor, walking around with a hologram of a character you're looking for. I'm thinking there's other applications than just being an action figure for some of these. So anyway, enough rambling, kind of just explaining myself. There are 10 unique figures in the Holocomm collection. We are going to buzz through them now, so let's go. In spot number 10, I have OSHA. So this is not an Acolyte hate thing. I actually really like the Acolyte. My logic on OSHA not making a ton of sense is, they're looking for her, but they had a hologram of May killing Jedi Master Endara from the beginning of the show, so it kind of makes more sense to have a Holocomm figure of May than OSHA overall. Why would they have a hologram of OSHA, in her mechanic outfit that the Jedi didn't even know that she was doing, in the beginning of the show? So there's a little bit of an element of it's a little bit out of place, but also they wanted to take some brand new at the time figures and put them in their subline. I understand the behind the scenes logic, but it's more as I don't know, it was just a little bit of a unique character pull, you know what I mean? In spot number 9 is May. Again, ultimately, kind of makes sense to have a hologram of her in universe, but I just think there's a lot of cooler figures on the list. Again, I do love the Acolyte. I think it's a great show. But I don't know, OSHA and May ultimately do end up a little bit lower because we have some really, really cool characters the further along we go, and some that make sense ultimately in this display a little bit more. Spot number 8 goes to Axe Woves. So one of the things that puts him a little bit lower down the list is as a removable helmet character, you can, because of the fact that this figure is made out of clearish plastic, when you put the helmet on his head, you can see his face right through it. The gimmick doesn't super work. It only really works if you pose him holding it. So that's a little bit eh. But then the other thing is why would Axe Woes in universe in particular have a bounty out on him? I mean, I guess, but you think they would just be going after Bo-Katan, the leader of the Mandalorians? I don't know. It doesn't translate super well with the removable helmet, kind of messing with it. But it is what it is. It's not a bad figure. Spot number 7 goes to Bo-Katan, and same story as Axe Woes, removable helmet. It doesn't translate super well into this type of gimmick. However, I do think the Bo-Katan Black Series figure is an excellent Black Series figure. I think the articulation and sculpt are just dead on. So I'm happy to get her in this line. She poses great. She'll look great on that puck. And again, as I mentioned with Axe, she's the leader of the Mandalorians. They would probably have a bounty on her. The Empire would. But yeah, I think Bo-Katan definitely translates fairly well, other than the helmet thing. Spot number 6 goes to the Mandalorian. So similar story to Bo-Katan and Axe Woes. He has a translucent helmet. It's not as bad, hence why he gets to be the best of the three, because he doesn't have a face under his helmet. He has a blank head, but you do see it through that helmet. It's just it's weird. I don't know that I super like that, but otherwise pretty solid sculpt. It's a little bit dated now because we've got some new Mandalorian base bodies since, but it articulates well enough to work in this type of subline. It generally looks the part. Also makes sense. The Empire probably would have a bounty out on our guy. So yeah, I do like this addition to the line. Definitely one of the better ones. Spot number 5 goes to Ahsoka Tano. I think she is a great addition to this line. The Empire absolutely would have a bounty out on her. I like this Ahsoka figure a lot in her Mandalorian appearance. I think it's a generally really good Black Series figure, because of the lack of things like removable helmets. You just have a face. It translates very nicely into the line as well. I just don't have anything bad to say here. I think this figure is a fine addition to this line. A little bit middle of the pack because we've got a couple cooler ones, but all said, still a very fine addition to the Holocomm collection. Spot number 4 goes to Darth Maul. So this is a Clone Wars look for Darth Maul. This has actually gotten to be cooler since Maul Shadow Lord has been airing, because you absolutely do see holograms of Darth Maul. And the Empire is looking for this guy hardcore. They absolutely would have bounties out on him. This is very much a cool display piece at this point. Almost would make for like an interesting replica type thing, to put on the shelf, because again, they would have bounty pucks out for Maul. But Clone Wars Maul figure, solid sculpt, translates well into the translucency of the subline, and I like it. He's a really cool one. Spot number 3 goes to Han Solo. If there was ever a guy that had a bounty put on him, it was Han Solo. I tell you what. This is the Empire Strikes Back look for Han Solo. It was one of the better Han figures at the time. They didn't make the brand new A New Hope one yet, so I think the Empire Strikes Back figure translated fairly well to the line for this. If you picture a bounty on anyone in Star Wars, it's Han Solo. But yeah, just a very fun addition to the line. This is one of those ones where you're like, yeah, just makes sense. This line would not make sense with a Han Solo absent from it. Spot number 2 goes to Darth Vader. Now, while I can't imagine a bounty being out on Darth Vader, this kind of works well in a display way, because you gotta imagine, think back to the movies and the shows. Vader appears as a hologram a lot, potentially more than any other character in the saga. He is happy to appear in blue translucent form to choke out an Imperial officer on any ship for disappointing him. It just makes a lot of sense. This guy, maybe not so much as a bounty type of figure, but because what bounty hunter could take him? But it makes sense to get Darth Vader in hologram format in general in the line. Landspeeder Luke actually made a very cool 3D printable thing where it's a table, like a holo table that the puck can go inside, and then you could have him on the table as a display talking to his officers. And I think that is the way to go with this figure. That's absolutely an insane display option. In spot number 1, I'm putting Ezra Bridger. This is the Rebels season 4 look of Ezra that we got in the flashback format in the Ahsoka line. And, this one to me makes a ton of sense. Not so much as a bounty, although absolutely the Empire would have a bounty out on him. A Jedi during the Empire's reign absolutely would have a bounty out on him. But I love the gimmick of this as a little bit of a prop replica. Remember, where we see him ultimately in the show. Sabine is on the fence about going on a mission. She pulls out a little hollow puck, much like the one included with the figure, and plays Ezra's message that he left to the crew at the end of the show. What a heartbreaking moment, translated into live action to break our hearts for a second time. And, this is just something where I could see someone putting this on a shelf with some Ahsoka prop replicas. I could see someone maybe using this with a cosplay. Maybe they go and they pose Ezra, and maybe they glue a couple of the joints and glue him to the base. Maybe the Sabines are walking around with him at Comic-Con or whatever. I don't know. But it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, I could see this being, more than just a Black Series thing, and it makes it a little bit cooler that, you can like, well, I want it for a toy, but also, I don't know, my mind runs a little bit more of Ezra than some of the other ones. It made it feel really easy to put him in first place. What do you think at the end of the day here? Am I spitting? Am I waffling? Don't hesitate to let me know in the comments down below. Keep it chill. Remember, we are just talking about toys. It's nothing to get in a tizzy over. I do like this Holocomm subline a good deal. This is definitely the coolest of the Black Series sublines, in my opinion. Definitely cooler than carbonized. I do have a soft spot for Credit Collection, but it is cooler than Credit Collection. I like these. These made a lot of sense to me. It sucks they didn't perform. I would have loved to get a third wave. At least we could get a hologram Emperor after Vader. The Emperor's probably the second most recurring character to appear in hologram form. So yeah, it would have been nice to get him ultimately. There was a rumor that he was coming, but these performed so poorly that ultimately, that third wave, if it got anywhere in development, was scrapped. So anyways, thank you for coming and listening to me ramble about toys. I like to do so, so make sure to subscribe and you will get daily videos of me continuing to ramble about toys. I'm going to dip now. Thanks for coming on. May the Force be with you. I will catch you next time.